So we are here to discuss the power of beauty brand collaborations, and we're going to demonstrate how these strategic alliances are fostering innovation and market reach, and the transformative impacts that these collabs have on the beauty industry. So I'm going to begin with Marina, Nada, Nora. I'm very curious to know how you go about choosing your content creators. So what factors do you consider? What do you look at?
I can go ahead. So basically, when we look at selecting the right creators for the different brand collaborations and for our different clients, obviously we look at first what is the market that we want to target. So who is the audience, as well as what are the campaign objectives. But then you take it a step further and we analyze quantitatively and qualitatively what are the right factors that you should keep in mind when picking your right influencers. So you obviously need to look at their image, their persona, the kind of content that they create. Is it in line with the ethos of the brand? That's obviously first and foremost really important. But also, I think there's a misconception that follower count is what people look at when making the right selection for influencers, and that's actually not the case. You want to look at the actual data. So you want to look at the views that this influencer brings, the impressions, what's that engagement rate, what's the CPV, the CPM. So these are the kind of factors that we look at, as well as, the background checks and all of that.
But is data easy? I mean, there's a lot of content creators and people in general on social media that have fake accounts or bots. Is that easy to navigate through the fakes versus the actual?
So with ITP Live in specific, we actually have been in the market for quite some time, and we've worked with thousands of different influencers across different markets, and we've actually created our own database that's based off of concrete data from some of the campaigns that we've run. So it's very easy for us to be able to kind of filter what is real, what's not real, and to be able to recommend the right influencer for your campaign.
Nora, what about you?
I think building on what Nada was mentioning, I think starting first with defining the objectives of that campaign is the first step that you need, is the essential step in that process, because that's when it takes you to, I like to call it the matchmaking step, because that's when as a brand you start seeing and identifying who are those relevant content creators and influencers that can play a role for me as a brand, matched to these kind of objectives I've identified for myself. Another critical step is the homework and research you need to do. Making sure that that content creator or influencer can actually deliver an authentic message that is aligned to the brand values is really important. You don't want to end up working with someone who's not necessarily in line with what you're trying to deliver as a brand. So that matchmaking process and doing your own homework and research is really, really critical in making sure that you're establishing that relationship. And being able to engaging with them and not just on a partnership or like a business relationship only, actually trying to understand who's their audience. How does their audience engage? How does their audience react to the different content that they do? Enables you as a brand as well to identify who's that right content creator I can work with, what content resonates with their audience, and what content is going to really land well and is going to be able to deliver to their audience in the right way. I think that is, for me, in a nutshell, one of the most critical phases of identifying the objectives, making sure that you match those profile, and doing your homework to be able to kind of deliver those messages in the most authentic way.
Very good. I like that. The matchmaking concept. All right.
I love
Marina.
That. The only thing I would add to those two fantastic points are there are two metrics that I really love. So once you've identified what success looks like and you've done your homework to ensure that those two things are sort of going to meet in the middle, I love the metric of posting cadence. So how often is your creator posting and engaging with their community? I think that is really overlooked. And sentiment. So not just engagement, but what are people actually saying when they're commenting and engaging with this creator? So it's all well and good that your engagement rate is through the roof and every time you post about your beauty product, people are talking about your earrings or your dog or your boyfriend. That's not what we want. We want creators who have that real authenticity and authority. So when you work with them on your curl cream or your lip liner or your hyaluronic acid, they have the community that will engage with that product and that specific subject line. So that's the only thing I would add to those 2 points.
Okay. Fahreen, you're a content creator.
I am, yes.
Voted by Forbes by one of the top 10 creators. We can give her a hand. She's definitely earned it. An award-winning luxury lifestyle travel. So, in your opinion, how do you think influencers are shaping the future of the industry?
I believe influencers are playing such a vital role in shaping not only the industry but beauty standards. We are defining now what is beautiful, if that makes sense. And the power that we have where we can take a product or a trend and make it viral overnight is unreal. So I think the fact that our influence doesn't seem to be going down, it's only increasing as the market is getting big, and especially in beauty. I feel like there's such a big market for beauty content creators. Everyone's different, everyone looks different, everyone has their own beauty tips, tricks, hacks that they can add to that product, which I love. Like, I love watching Makeup by Mario do makeup, and I learn myself so many things, how he puts an eyeliner on that I don't put an eyeliner on that way. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got their own way, which I love. But I also feel that content creators now are really pushing for inclusivity. And I feel like they are forcing brands almost to adopt a new way of thinking where there are more shade ranges in beauty brands now. There are different hair textures. There are different identities now in the world that we live amongst. And I think content creators are forcing brands to adopt that mindset, which I'm obviously all for, and that's the way the world is going. But not only that, I feel that they're also pushing for sustainability. They're pushing for cruelty-free products. They're pushing for ingredients that are sourced ethically, which I think was never done before. And we are leading that movement, and we are telling the brands what we want and what we want to see, and brands are following. So I think our influence doesn't seem to be going, and I hope it doesn't, but we're moving things in the right direction.
But then there's content creator and content creator.
Yes.
Some are moving in the right direction, but do you feel that some are not helping the industry?
Yes, that's a tough one to answer, but yes, I do feel like there are some that obviously give a wrong image of what beauty should look like, especially with such a young audience that we have now. Like, look at TikTok. The main users on TikTok are very young, they're young teenagers, and what image are we showing them what beauty is? I have daughters of my own, so I'm very conscious of what image I put up out there. Retouching, the airbrushing, the making us look thinner, like there's so much that goes into it that some content creators just haven't learned to let go of, which I think the whole natural way of creating content is moving ahead more than the whole airbrushed Facetune era that we all were part of.
Fahreen, thank you for that. Marina, let me ask you, how are collaborations driving innovation of product development within the beauty industry? Can you share some specific examples?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think building on the prior point. So I think because what content has done and what social media has really created is this democratization of finding an audience. So previously, you'd have an audience if you were a beauty editor, or if you were on TV, or if you were you went through all the sort of more traditional challenges of then being put in front of an audience. Now, if you have the will and an internet connection and a smartphone and some consistency, you could become a content creator. I work full time in the creator economy. I'm also a TikTok creator because I just started creating one day. So it's very interesting having that kind of duality. It gives me quite an interesting lens. But from the point of view of how creators are really pushing the industry, and I loved what you said, because there is a very different type of voice that has an audience and has power that hasn't previously, whether it's skin tones, whether it's skin concerns, whether it's just, we live in a big global world with lots of different people. And I think the beauty lens has always been very focused on maybe a singular type of beauty. And I think now, because as we go through from an audience perspective, Gen Z are the loudest and most influential generation we've seen. They are affecting Gen Alpha and how they are shaping the world. And they're not having it. Like, they won't let you bring out a foundation that isn't inclusive. They won't let you get away with launching a lilac blush that doesn't look good on all skin tones. And I think that sense of accountability that influencers sort of are the conduit of, because they're putting their opinion in front of that audience, and then it's that audience that's then mobilizing on that. I think we can't underestimate, firstly, the fact that it's not going anywhere. Like, the creator economy is booming. It is only growing and only taking more and more of that traditional marketing spend from brands into content creation with sort of influencers. So I think it is powerful in terms of how creators are really influencing that. And I think we're just at the beginning. This space is really new. We haven't even begun yet, I would say.
But for it to actually impact how a brand is innovating.
Yeah.
Innovating. The product is completely transforming itself.
Yes, I can give you a really direct
Yes,
example.
go for it.
So there's an amazing TikTok creator called Gloria, who is a very dark-skinned South Sudanese creator who's based out in Chicago. So she does a lot around dark skin tones and the brands that do or don't cater to that skin tone. So she reviewed a foundation by a brand called Euphoria, where they basically just released a black foundation, like not dark colored, like a black paint foundation. The internet went crazy, basically cancelled this brand overnight. No one talks about this brand anymore. Rhode, when they released their pocket blush, they released blushes that weren't wide enough for all people's skin tones. Gloria reviewed it, put it on her channel. Then Rhode reached out, worked with her as a consultant, and released 3 more blushes that look beautiful on dark skin tones. So I think those are 2 examples of a brand that was called out, didn't manage it well, went away, and let's see what happens with them. And then a brand that was called in, engaged, took accountability and responsibility and pushed forward. And I think that's the power of a creator.
All right, thank you very much, Marina. Nada, how have you seen the role of influencers and celebrities evolve in the beauty industry, particularly when it comes to driving growth and consumer engagement?
I think both of you had really good answers, and just kind of jumping on that, I think when it comes to celebrity partnerships in specific, a lot of times we see these celebrities as the face of these brands, you know, whether it's luxury brands or beauty brands. And, you know, bless her, I think Bella Hadid is gorgeous, but I don't look like her. I don't have the same skin tone, I don't have the same eye color. Whereas with influencers, just that sense of relatability and credibility is so much more heightened. Like, I mean, who here has bought something because they saw like a TikTok, something on TikTok? I have 3 lip liners in my bag right now because someone on TikTok that had a similar skin tone to me, you know, spoke to me about the products, how it was made. It looked great on them, went out and bought it myself. So I think that's the power of influencers in specific, just kind of building off of your answers, and how I see this benefiting a lot of people, especially with brands. Because now as well, the word influencer is kind of changing, especially with TikTok, because it could be anyone who's creating content talking about a specific product, and then you see it just go viral at this point, and everyone's starting to kind of make those purchases. You know, you run to Sephora, things are sold out. So this is what I'm saying is very effective, and just having that sense of relatability between me and someone else who's an influencer convincing me to buy this product is so real.
And do you find, because you mentioned TikTok, do you find that TikTok is like the platform for influencers to use best?
I think, well, specifically in this region, I think we've seen TikTok grow exponentially, especially when it comes to specific products that are being promoted, seeing an increase of sales about a specific product. I think TikTok is booming. I think when it comes to different markets, so for example, we were talking about this backstage, Snapchat in Saudi specifically is more of the platform that you would see people kind of influenced by, and a lot of content creators using. But I think TikTok is also very important when it comes to driving more awareness for specific brands, driving their growth, driving more conversions as well.
But TikTok and Snapchat are certain generations only and not others. I guess that works for you. It works for your brand.
I would say
Marina?
actually on TikTok, the fastest growing generation is Gen X.
Gen X.
Yeah,
Gen X.
it's more
Gen
inclusive.
X on TikTok?
It's more inclusive than people perceive it to be actually on TikTok.
Yeah.
How old is the oldest Gen X right now? 40 something?
No. Oh, I think Gen X is 40 to 55, I think.
Okay, so already in their 50s.
Yeah.
Even
TikTok
in
is TV. Snapchat's
yeah,
the same.
even Snapchat. Snapchat, you see, it depends, I guess, more so what kind of industry is being promoted, but you would see a lot of, you know, not the Gen Zers that are actually on Snapchat using Snapchat to promote different products, and it's working effectively as well.
Yeah, it's working. And like, I'm going to use my daughter's example again, because it is my daughter who looks at an influencer on TikTok or Snapchat and tells me what makeup to buy. I mean, I have no clue. I'm a Facebook/Instagram user, and I don't see much platform, makeup and so on. But I rely on her, on that generation, to tell me what a setting spray is. I'm sorry, but in my generation, we didn't use setting sprays. I had to learn it from my daughter. But thank you very much for that. Nada. Nora, as a marketing head for the glamorous Alshaya group, what are some recent successful examples of beauty brand collaborations? and what made them stand out in the industry?
So in Alshaya portfolio, we have a lot of beauty brands, and I think it's sort of a powerhouse of a lot of brands that we have in the portfolio. And some of the examples that are really dear to my heart is, again, going back to the point we were making earlier, is that how do you make sure that a collaboration is something that is really aligned with the brand and the objective it has? And a collaboration can come in different sorts and different shapes and forms. It can be a collaboration with an influencer, it can be a collaboration with a show, it can be a collaboration with another brand. And I think this is how collaborations in the beauty industry is really shaping into different shapes and forms. One of the examples is Bath & Body Works. They've been doing recently a lot of collaborations with upcoming shows that are happening on Netflix. So really capitalizing on the hype that's happening on these shows to bring it closer to their audience. And that's where the Gen Z kind of driving it as a brand, trying to get closer to that. So Emily in Paris, for example, they've launched in the US like a limited collection of fragrances that's all inspired by that Parisian kind of vibe. Same thing with Stranger Things. If anyone is a fan here, again, like a limited collection of candles that comes in. So again, bringing the show closer to the audience and making it super relatable at a very relatable moment. We have also in our portfolio Boots Pharmacy. Boots has a brand that's called Sultan for sun care. And one of the recent campaigns that they've done is with the Minions. During the release of the Despicable Me 4 show, what they've done is that they've collaborated with a lot of influencers to kind of bring sun care fun with creating a lot of UGC content to kind of bring it closer to them, make sun care process much more fun for the audience, engaging it with the kids and the family, and really creating very nice content that's very relatable as well and delivering it in a really nice way. Also, one of the ones that I love actually is more on the makeup. So makeup brands do it really, really well, because there's so much to play with and the content can be much more playful and much bolder actually, is MAC Cosmetics. So MAC has done two actually. One where they've done their Power Kiss launch, where it was all about creating UGC content, where everyone was creating their own looks and kind of bringing it closer. And also the one they've done recently, which is for the Cruella movie, part of Disney, which is all supporting their bold kind of looks. So again, bringing it closer to the audience and making it super relatable. Charlotte Tilbury as well had a brilliant launch that was all about Disney and remaking looks of very famous Disney characters, which again was super cool because you kind of match it with your favorite Disney character and you kind of see it. So it just shows how collaborations can come in different shapes and forms, but also there are brands who collaborate with influencers or celebrities. So a brand that's been doing it really well is Maybelline. So Maybelline has been collaborating with Gigi Hadid for many, many years. And it's all about that consistency that they're able to deliver, and it's another really important point is how do you make sure you establish these long-term partnerships with these influencers you're working with, because it does deliver that authentic content and it helps you to deliver that relationship with them where they become the face of the brand and people always associate them with that brand. It is a double-edged sword in a way, but at the same time it brings that authentic kind of relationship to the audience. Fenty Beauty as well is brilliant in doing that. So speaking of Gen Z, my daughter, who's a 10-year-old, came to me and she was like, I want to buy a Fenty Beauty lipstick. And I was like, where did you see that? She's like, it's for Roblox, And that was so smart because it's such a smart kind of a collaboration they've done with Roblox, tapping into the whole gaming industry, where a lot of kids nowadays are using Roblox and just launching a very simple lipstick that just has that cute Roblox face on it, and kids sold out literally across Sephora in a couple of hours. So
that's amazing. I had no idea that there were these sorts of collaborations with games and movies.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What about the old-time brands, Lancôme, Estée Lauder?
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Do they also leverage on?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I think given that you've asked that question, so Estée Lauder actually has done a very smart thing where as a brand they wanted to kind of tap more into luxury beauty. So they've done a collaboration with Victoria Beckham, which was super smart because they were able to tap into that luxury, older audience kind of collaboration. That launch also did really, really well for them. So again, as I said, the collaborations or the industry of beauty is so diverse that you're able to tap into just going back to what are you trying to deliver the message as a brand, and making sure that you're tapping into these opportunities in a very smart way kind of opens up so many opportunities for both,
Very true. But sometimes brands, I'm sure, make huge errors and collaborate with the wrong
100%
message or the wrong, right? That happens
absolutely.
as well. Okay. Fahreen, content creator, how do you gauge whether your audience is positively reacting?
You can usually tell when a collaboration has done well through engagement, how well it's performed in terms of likes, shares, comments. And also we're given metric data now. So we have like clickable links, affiliate links. We have clicks that allow our audience to directly look at our collaboration and then think, oh, I want to buy that. Click that link and then go on to make a purchase. So we can get measured based on the clicks. How many of your audience has actually thought, oh, I want to have you changed their intention to buy? How many of your followers have clicked that link? So we can measure a successful collaboration through that. But also, the best way, I feel like, how I personally feel that if I've done a successful collaboration is that if my followers or audience are talking about the brand even when the collaboration's over, if they're still talking about it in the comments, if they're talking about it on my DMs, or how's your journey with so-and-so brand? Has your skin gone... have you got rid of any blemishes, or like what's the update? Like things like that I can tell have been a successful collaboration if still going on when the collaboration's done. That's how I feel like it's resonated well with your audience. And they genuinely want to know, has your journey finished? What's the update? Carried on that hyaluronic acid treatment? What's the before and after? So that's usually a good indicator to tell it's done well or performed well.
Can you sort of by now foresee how it's gonna come across
I
to your
can,
audience?
because I feel like what I think most content creators are doing and what they should be doing is doing brand partnership their audience,
Yes.
and that they would promote regardless of. So I think if it comes across authentic, it does well.
Yes.
If you're just paid to just hold a product and it looks so inauthentic, you've never mentioned them before, you've never said that you like them, you've never worn anything from that brand before, and all of a sudden you're doing a whole campaign with them, it does look a bit suspicious, and I feel like followers can see through that now.
People are going to catch up eventually that you're
Absolutely.
not authentic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Marina, in your opinion, how do collaborations help brands tap into new customers, particularly among Gen Zs and Alphas?
Really, the unlock is being where this audience is already dwelling. You as a brand, you have two options. You have the ability to use your own voice on your own channel and tell your story in that respect, or you sensitively and conscientiously, from all the things that we've talked about, pick partners who will tell your story for you. And I think, we work with some partners, particularly maybe luxury brands, that really struggle with sharing control with a creator and sort of empowering them to say, right, this is our story, but you tell it to your audience in the way that you know will work best, which is always the way to do it. But I think with that...
I was going to say, why did you say it's the way to do it? You really believe that you shouldn't have any say or some say? Because you know your product best.
No.
No.
No. I would say, and I know it's I sit between brands and creators, you don't know best as a brand. It's your product, but the channel is the creative. We like to say that directors, not script writers. So as long as we say, this is the product, here are your two key messages, the vibe is upbeat, FaceTime with your best friend, like that's it. As long as it's correct, we try and protect creators from unnecessary feedback. Because I think, as brand leaders, they're really used to controlling like every little bit of how a script goes, the content goes, the image looks. But if you want that, work with a model. Work with a UGC content creator who you can script and storyboard and what have you. If you work with a creator, you're identifying them because there's things about their platform and their style that you love. So I think doing that is firstly best for results. Like we have data of like, you give creators feedback, this is the engagement, you don't, and then engagement doubles basically. So I think on the one hand, we'll be more successful. But going back to your earlier question, I think more crucially, that different type of storytelling will mean that you're able to find audiences that you wouldn't have come across, speaking in your own brand voice and on your own brand channels. So I think the opportunity there is dual. All round, it's the right decision.
And you can probably tell when a brand has had too much interference.
Oh my goodness.
You can tell right away.
Yeah, and to be fair, and to be fair to the brands out there as well, I think, going back to like good content creators and maybe not so good content creators, I think creators need to have discipline, even when they are being offered opportunities and budget and what have you, like paid campaigns. It's a false economy to do a deal for a brand or a product you wouldn't use. One of the things I personally do as a content creator is if I don't use you after the deal, I won't take the partnership. partnership. And one of the things that our beauty brands are really looking for now, balancing the metrics and the performance, is find me a creator who's already showing me organic brand love. So are they already posting about the brand, and then they're open to working with that creator? Yeah. That's something that we're getting more and more, and I really stand by that as a way of finding the right people to collaborate with.
Okay, fantastic. Nada, can you share a successful beauty campaign that you've managed where influencer and celebrity collaborations significantly boosted your brand visibility?
So, well, we actually just wrapped up Patrick Todd India, which was actually really cool. And I know he's going to be here tomorrow, but they just had him for Nika Land, and it was really something exciting to see because the product's not available there. So just really bringing that brand visibility, and especially because he's a very well-known content creator, makeup artist turned influencer, now has his own brand. This was definitely one of the more exciting partnerships that we were able to do in a new market for him specifically. But there is one skin can brand. I can't disclose the name of the brand, but it's a skincare brand that we've been working with actually, where we combined the power of influencer marketing, but also with performance marketing in order to have a successful campaign. And why I bring this up is because a lot of brands nowadays want to know, how can I increase sales? And I think when it comes content creators in specific, yes, you have the swipe up links or the click links or the promo codes. But the best way to do it is to really combine the two so you can target that audience. So what we did is we had content creators create organic content, using the different skincare products, talking about the different benefits. And then we actually boosted it through TikTok Spark ads, because it looks a lot more organic. You see the content exactly how you would see it on the influencer's feed. It's boosted from the influencer's feed, and it doesn't so much look like an ad. But what we saw is, doing the influencer marketing alone, we got X amount of link clicks, performance marketing, X amount of link clicks. But when we combined the two together, we saw that we had over 1 million link clicks. I think it was the span of 5 days. The CPC, I think, was $0.017, which is significantly low in industry standards when you are talking about influencer partnerships in specific, and really increasing, the link clicks and the performance of how that campaign is, specifically when talking about actual kind of conversion. So this was something that was definitely kind of and we've done this model before with a lot of other kind of brands, whether it's, gaming, FMCG, but specifically when it comes to beauty, I think it was really important to kind of combine the two to really help drive the success of that campaign, which is ultimately what we ended up seeing.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Fahreen, how do you remain authentic while fulfilling the brand's objectives? And my personal little question, have you ever had to pull out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think, so going to your first question, so remaining authentic to yourself, that is, you are getting called out, no one's business nowadays. Everyone wants to cancel you, and it's done just like culture. That. So
people are mean. I read the comments sometimes.
People are mean. People are really mean. So you have to be really careful what image you put out there, what brand collaborations you're doing. Like I was saying to you previously, a brand that you've never mentioned before, and now all of a sudden you're getting paid X amount of money to promote them. Or is it a brand that you've actually been talking about organically and endorsing them without a sponsorship deal, and then now something's come along? Like you were mentioning before, you're seeing the organic content first, and then, they're genuine fans of the brand. Let's partner up with her. Let's do some work with her. So I think that's the best way of creating content, is to obviously create content that aligns with your audience, your page, your likes, your values, and that's the best way of coming across as authentic as possible. I think we're getting there. I think I am seeing a few crazy campaigns out there, random one-off, that even I'm like, oh, why are you doing that? But I think like we were all saying, we're getting caught out a lot more than ever, so people can see through it.
Do you ignore it, or do you answer back, just out of curiosity?
I've been in this industry too long to care now. It goes in one ear and out the other.
Okay,
so
good,
I'm
good.
I've got thick skin now.
Nora, in what ways do strategic alliances with other beauty brands help in expanding market reach for both parties involved?
I think it goes back to the examples I was giving in the earlier question, is that one gives you that increased brand visibility, where you're able to tap into these new audiences, tap into new customer base that you've not spoken to before, or maybe they were not aware of your brand or what are you offering. And that's a very clear example of how do you tap into these opportunities and kind of start delivering that message in different ways and on different platforms. I think also it's the idea of being able to have access to these new distribution channels, because as a brand you might have had some limited kind of channels or resources that you were kind of more reliant on. But these beauty collaborations can actually open up your brand existence and your brand visibility, and also the way that your content is being distributed through that collaborations that you've worked with. And most importantly, it's the new audience that you start engaging with. You know, at the end of the day, every brand's goal is to, how can I make sure that I'm attracting new customers and bringing new people into my brand, and how do I make sure that I'm really sustaining my existing audience and making sure that I continuously kind of bring new fun things to them and kind of keep them engaged. So it's that balance that you're creating. So I think, again, as I mentioned, that it is a double-edged sword where you really need to strike the right balance of, is it the right relevant collaboration that I'm making? Is it something that really taps into the opportunities that I want to drive as a brand? And then this is where the opportunities start opening up, you know, be it from a market even expansion. You might have not existed in a specific market, but due to a collaboration, it might have opened your platform to even expand into new markets or even new demographics from a customer base standpoint. So that's where I see it happening in terms of the...
So let me ask you our final question. How do you envision the future, the market trends? What role is the influencer going to have in marketing your brand?
I think the top thing is all about that data-driven decision making. You know,
Data-driven.
Yeah,
Data-driven. Okay.
As they say, data's king. You know, like how is the data that we're getting from these influencers, one, helping us shape the content and the way we're delivering it as brands, and two, getting the right insights that allows us as a brand. There's a lot of beauty brands out there that have actually launched product out of conversations that's been happening with the audience, which gave them ideas. So I really truly believe in how the data is going to shape that in the future in terms of that collaborations, being able to get into those nitty-gritty of the details, being able to understand how did the campaign perform and how can I get that data to help me as a brand grow and expand. I think this is how brands are going to get smarter in the way that they leverage these collaborations moving forward. It's not only a campaign, a tick in the box where I've done this campaign and I'm, you know, it's a collaboration and that's it. It's about how are you really leveraging these collaborations that you've done and kind of these partnerships that you've done with these content creators or influencers to shape your brand even on the different channels that you're promoting.
Thank you. Thank you, Nora. Marina, same question. What should brands do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love everything you said, for sure. I think, like I sort of mentioned at the start, we are very new and young, this kind of stage of working with influencers in the creator economy. As we get more data-driven, we'll be able to prove results more. We'll be able to regulate. At this point, people don't even know how much you pay creators. Like, you know, they have 1 million followers, their engagement...
I mean, I didn't want to ask the question.
No, it's still very much like the Wild West. So we have a long way to go, I think, before we stop seeing acute growth. But I think as we get more data-driven, as we get more regulated, as we're able to prove, you know, going back to what you were saying, Nada, about performance marketing, as we're able to prove out, because now, ask me, I think social media is the most powerful part of a marketing engine. But I think proving that out to the rest of the business lines is where some of our partners have a challenge. Like some brands you'll speak to the social team, we know influencers will be all the difference in our business, but CMO, CFO, whoever doesn't. So at the moment, we're at this biting point between it being hugely influential, but still having a little bit of a question mark from like a business case perspective. And as we become more disciplined, more data-driven, we just also have more time in the market to prove out how powerful influencer marketing is. All it's going to do is grow exponentially.
Thank you. Nada, Fahreen.
Yeah, I think when it comes to brands, first and foremost, they need to really understand what they're getting out of these influencer partnerships. Like tapping onto what you said, like how much are you paying this influencers versus what are the results that you're getting? And this is their return of investment. And I think influencers are aware of this, brands are aware of this, they're getting a lot more educated. Obviously, results tap into giving them the creative freedom, making sure that, you know, it's in their own tone of voice, in their own style, but really understanding the data, being able to analyze and recommend what could be done as a next step is really essential, which is at the core of what we do in our business, to ensure that brands know exactly what they're getting, what the benefit of that is, how that looks like in numbers, and what they can do better as a next step.
Fahreen, how do you see the trend evolution?
I see the trend evolution of influence in the beauty industry. I think there will be an increase of long-term collaborations rather than short-term collaborations. I think now we're seeing through the whole one-off collaboration phase. I think now people want to see a journey. My audience wants to see me talking about a product for a few times.
Yeah.
They don't want to see me mention it once and then never hear from it again. They want to see my journey with that product, where how I started to how I've ended. They want to keep me updated.
Yes.
And it's through our way of storytelling, a cohesive storytelling, if you could say. So that's going to increase. Secondly, I think the whole idea of micro and nano influencers is going to increase using micro and nano influencers.
Oh, yes.
Because their engagement rate and their tight-knit community is incredible, and that will ultimately lead to more ROI and conversion. So I think we'll see a rise of brands using them and a rise in long-term, like brand ambassadorship, long-term sponsorship deals.
What about the use of AI? No one's mentioned AI today as of yet. Are you going to have an AI avatar
I'm scared of
influencer?
AI. I'm scared of AI because it's an area that I need to know, but I haven't dabbed into yet.
Well, that's it. You just mentioned fear. Are
Yeah,
you
I'm
afraid of
scared.
being replaced by an AI
Yes,
influencer?
Yeah. I'm afraid of the whole fun of it being taken away from me and someone like a bot doing my job.
So create one before it happens.
I know.
All right, let's open it up to the audience. We do have some time for questions, and get the microphone here. There it is. All right, do we have any questions for our incredible panelists today? Don't be shy.
If we don't, I
Yes,
can
one
speak on
here,
AI.
please.
Cool.
Hi.
Hi.
Fahreen, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So I want to throw it back to you in the sense of, when it comes to working with brands,
Yes.
what's the best way that you find that relationship works? So, as somebody who works with influencers, we're always trying to get the best out of you, and we want to see that ROI. But from your perspective, how do we get that out of you? What's the best way that you like to work with the brands?
So I think the best way to get the best out of me and a collaboration out of me would be to see what my audience like. What does my page show you? Am I luxury or am I high street? I'm luxury, only luxury. So I will stick to that. I'm not here working with drugstore brands. I literally just do luxury. So I think my audience already has that mindset of I'm going to follow Fahreen because she looks at luxury content, and I like buying luxury products and luxury travel and luxury living. So I'm going to follow her for inspiration based on that. So if a brand were to approach me that wasn't luxury, for example, say a high street brand, I wouldn't be able to take that collaboration on because I know it won't perform well on my page. My followers want to see me wearing a high-end brand rather than a low-end brand. So that's the only way a brand partnership would work well for me, is if the brand knows who my audience are and what their goal is. Do they want to target a luxury audience, or do they want to target a high street audience? So it goes both ways. But yeah, really good question.
Thank you. All right, well, ladies, you have been phenomenal. Thank you very much for being here today on Beautyworld's stage. Thank you so much. Let's have a photo. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our Brand Collabs panel. Thank you so much, ladies. It was fantastic talking.
Thank you, everyone.